Right now, as you hear these words, there is a question that has lived in the back of your mind for years. Am I really being heard when I pray? You've whispered in the dark, tears on your face, begging for answers that never seem to come. You've cried out for healing and felt the silence echo back. You've pleaded for provision and watched the bills pile higher. You've asked for peace and woken up with the same knot of fear in your stomach. And somewhere, buried beneath your hope, there lingers a doubt too heavy to admit aloud. Maybe I'm talking to nothing. Maybe God isn't listening. Maybe it doesn't work. That fear has chained countless souls. They kneel, they beg, they repeat the same words, but their hearts sink lower with every unanswered prayer. Anxiety builds because they believe God is holding out on them, delaying His blessing, testing their worth. But what if the silence you've heard was never God withholding? What if it was you making the single mistake that blocks every answer? What if all along you've been praying in the wrong way, and the heavens have been waiting for you to shift just once into alignment? Listen carefully, because I am about to tell you the truth that shatters lifetimes of frustration. God is not ignoring you. God is not distant. God is not waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. The mistake, the fatal mistake, is that most people talk at God as if He were a man far away, instead of talking with God as the life that already breathes within them. That single error turns prayer into noise, and noise has no power. But when you learn to talk to God rightly, when you stop begging and start aligning, the whole universe bends to answer. So ask yourself now, with complete honesty, how many of your prayers have been sabotaged by fear? How many times have you spoken words of faith while your heart secretly rehearsed defeat? How often have you begged for light while staring at the darkness? This is the mistake, and once you see it, you will never fall for it again. You are about to discover the only guide you will ever need on how to talk to God. And when you understand it, your fear will vanish, your doubt will dissolve, and the silence will break, not with noise, but with answers. Have you ever wondered why so many prayers feel unanswered? Why people cry out in desperation and yet remain chained to the same fears, the same struggles, the same endless cycle of asking and waiting? The truth is not that God is deaf, nor that heaven is withholding some secret blessing. It is that most people have never truly learned how to talk to God. They make the one mistake that blocks every answer. They speak to God as though He were a distant man, a magnified authority who must be convinced or persuaded. But God is not a man. God is life itself, love itself, intelligence itself. And to talk to God is not to beg across some cosmic distance, but to enter the presence that is already here, already within you. That is why the most powerful prayer is not a torrent of words. It is a shift of thought, a change in consciousness, a daring refusal to look at the problem, and a bold turning of the mind toward the infinite. Most people imagine prayer as a performance, a speech directed upward to a throne beyond the stars. They fill the silence with noise, hoping that the intensity of their effort will move the Almighty to pity. But let us expose this illusion. God does not need to be persuaded, convinced, or reminded. God is principle, unchanging, eternal, ever-present. To beg Him to change His mind is to reveal that you have not understood His nature. You do not change God. You align yourself with God, and alignment does not happen through anxious pleading. It happens the moment you stop obsessing over the problem and dare to think the thought of truth instead. The ancient mistake of humanity is this: treating prayer as a desperate telegram sent into the void, when in reality it is the act of opening your mind to what is already here. Imagine a man standing before a locked door, rattling the handle, pounding with his fists, crying for someone on the other side to let him in. He believes himself outside, so his every action confirms his separation. But the truth is shocking. The door was never locked. The barrier was only in his mind. Prayer is not breaking into heaven. Prayer is realizing you were never locked out. When you turn your thought from fear to God, the door swings open effortlessly. You step into peace, into supply, into healing, not because God suddenly decided to grant it, but because you stopped refusing it with the thought of separation. That is why Christ declared, "The kingdom of God is within you." The kingdom is not delayed. It is not remote. It is not conditional. It is here. It is now, and your thought is the key. Yet here lies the danger. Most people never pray at all. They think they do, but in truth they rehearse their fears before God. They repeat their grievances, they describe their illness, they magnify their lack, and then they wonder why nothing changes. The law is exact. What you dwell upon grows. To pray while thinking about the problem is not prayer, it is mental poisoning disguised as devotion. Emmet Fox warned of this clearly. To keep looking at your trouble while speaking words of prayer is like watering weeds and expecting roses. The first rule is therefore simple but unbreakable. Turn your mind away from the difficulty and fasten it on God. Think of God as life when sickness presses. Think of God as supply when lack threatens. Think of God as love when fear rises. Do not talk about the shadow, talk about the light, and the shadow will vanish. Let us consider a story, not as history, but as a mirror of your own soul. The prodigal son, wasted and broken, finally turned homeward. He could have stayed in the pigsty, rehearsing his failure, telling himself he was unworthy. He could have prayed about his poverty and misery, and nothing would have changed. But instead, he lifted his mind to his father's house. He remembered there was abundance, there was mercy, there was life waiting for him. And the moment his thought shifted, the moment he turned from the problem to the source, the way opened. That is not a parable about someone else. It is the map for your own soul. The instant you dare to lift your thought from the mud to God, you begin the journey home. That is prayer. This is why the Bible insists, "Be still and know that I am God." Stillness is not passivity. It is the refusal to chase the endless thoughts of fear. In stillness, you stop begging and begin knowing. You realize that the presence you seek is already the ground of your being, and in that realization, peace comes, answers come, healing comes, not because you wrestled them from God, but because you allowed your thought to stop blocking the flow. Understand this clearly. God is always giving. Your task is not to force His hand, but to remove the walls of fear, anger, and doubt that you have built in your own mind. And the only tool you need is prayer, not words that describe the darkness, but words that declare the light. Think of how often people pray in fear. They clutch their rosaries with trembling hands, whispering for relief, but inside their heart beats the rhythm of panic. They may not realize it, but they are declaring with every breath, "My problem is bigger than God." And so long as that declaration lingers in the heart, the answer cannot break through. But when you dare to say, "God is here, God is life, God is love, God is supply, God is intelligence," everything shifts. That thought, clear and strong, is the highest form of prayer. To know God is present is to dissolve the very problem that seemed immovable. This is why Jesus healed with such effortless power. He did not beg, He declared, He affirmed the truth, and the outer world conformed to the inner vision. Now, let me give you a law you must engrave into your spirit. Write it down, speak it aloud, and let it echo in your mind until it becomes your very heartbeat. I am one with the presence of God, free of fear, free of lack, and filled with life. Do not treat this as a slogan. Treat it as a key. Every time you feel the shadow pressing upon you, repeat this law, not with desperation, but with calm certainty. For it is not your shouting that makes it work, but the truth it contains. The moment you affirm it, the moment you believe it even a little, the walls begin to crumble. The life of God rushes in, and the miracle begins to unfold. So hear this clearly. The mistake to avoid is treating prayer as begging. The truth to remember is that prayer is alignment. God is not a man to be convinced. God is the infinite to be realized. To talk to God is not to describe your wounds. It is to declare His presence. And when you learn this, every prayer becomes powerful, every word charged with life, every thought a bridge between the seen and the unseen. You do not need endless rituals or complicated formulas. You need only this. Turn from the shadow to the light, from the fear to the presence, and let your soul declare, "I am one with God, and God is one with me." And when you begin to live with this truth, something remarkable happens. You realize that prayer is not an event you schedule, nor a performance you prepare. It is the atmosphere of your life. Every thought becomes a conversation with God. Every choice is a statement of faith or of fear. The careless word muttered in frustration is as much a prayer as the silent meditation offered in stillness. The law does not discriminate between what you intend and what you allow. It responds to what you dwell upon. This is why Emmet Fox insisted that thinking is praying, and that the whole of your life is shaped by what you habitually think about God, yourself, and your world. Once you grasp this, you begin to see that the secret is not to pray more words, but to live more consciously. The ordinary man imagines that he prays when he bows his head, and that the rest of his thoughts are private, disconnected from heaven. But there are no private thoughts. Every sustained impression on the mind is a prayer, and every prayer is answered in kind. To dwell on anger is to pray for bitterness. To dwell on fear is to pray for more fear. To dwell on lack is to pray for poverty. And the law, impartial and exact, gives you what you have asked for, even if you never called it prayer. The world is filled with men and women who pray daily for their own misery, rehearsing their defeats, magnifying their worries, calling themselves realists, when in fact they are faithful worshippers of fear. You must wake up and see this for what it is. You must dare to reverse the pattern. Consider the man who prays for success but all day repeats within himself, "I am unlucky, I have no chance, I never get a break." What is his true prayer? Not the brief words he whispers at night, but the constant stream of defeat he affirms to his own soul. The universe does not answer his 5 minutes of faith, it answers his 20 hours of fear. And until he understands this law, until he stops canceling his prayers with his own doubts, he will never rise. This is the tragedy of those who imagine God ignores them. It is not God who ignores. It is man who refuses to think in alignment with truth. And the moment you reverse this habit, the moment you discipline your mind to dwell on God instead of on lack, life itself begins to change. You must learn then to train your thought, just as an athlete trains his body. The mind left unattended will wander to every dark corner, replay every grievance, magnify every shadow. And what is that but constant prayer for more of the same? To talk to God rightly is to take hold of the reins of thought and steer it toward the truth, not with strain, not with anxiety, but with calm persistence. When fear rises, gently replace it with the remembrance of God's presence. When anger tempts, quietly affirm that divine love is the only power. When confusion comes, declare that divine intelligence guides you now. Do this not once, but again and again, until it becomes your natural way of seeing. Then prayer ceases to be an effort and becomes your second nature. You are no longer trying to pray, you are living in prayer. Let us go deeper still. Emmet Fox taught that God expresses himself through 7 great aspects: life, truth, love, intelligence, soul, spirit, and principle. Each is a door into his presence. When sickness presses, turn to life. When deceit threatens, turn to truth. When fear consumes, turn to love. When confusion binds, turn to intelligence. Do not scatter your thought in 1,000 directions. Choose the aspect that answers your need, and meditate upon it until the answer comes. For this is scientific prayer, not vague repetition, but precise alignment. The moment you choose rightly and think steadily, the law moves, and you will find that answers, healing, and supply come not by accident, but with the same certainty as sunrise. Do not think this practice is beyond you. A child can learn it, and in fact, a child often practices it more purely than the adult. Have you not seen a child trust completely when told they are safe? That same trust, without argument, without complication, is the essence of prayer. When you turn your mind to God with that simplicity, the results can be swift. The great mistake is to believe that results depend on your worthiness, your effort, or your performance. They depend only on alignment. You may not feel holy, but the moment you affirm God's presence, you are aligned with holiness itself. You may not feel wise, but the moment you declare God as intelligence, wisdom flows. The law does not wait for your perfection. It responds to your recognition. And here we uncover another hidden danger. Many people pray about their problems to everyone but God. They complain to their friends. They rehearse their troubles in their minds. They broadcast their lack in every conversation. And what is this but the worship of limitation? To spread your fear in words is to magnify it, to make it real to others and to yourself. Jesus warned of this when he said, "Go into your closet and shut the door. Do not parade your wounds. Do not scatter your prayers into the gossip of men. Hold them in silence, align with God, and allow them to crystallize. Your soul's affairs are sacred. Treat them as such. And when the answer comes, let it first grow strong within you before you speak of it to others. Let us bring this into a practical command. Write it now. Speak it aloud. Let it burn into the walls of your mind until nothing can erase it. I think with God, I speak with God, I live with God. This is not a suggestion, it is a law. Every time you catch yourself wandering into worry, stop and repeat it. Every time you feel the temptation to complain, stop and affirm it. Do not underestimate the power of this simple law. A single clear affirmation, felt deeply and repeated often, will rewire the whole pattern of your thinking. And when your thought changes, your life changes. This is not philosophy, it is fact, exact and scientific. Now, as you walk through your day, begin to observe yourself. Notice the thousands of silent prayers you send forth in the form of thought. Ask yourself, is this thought worthy of God? Does it affirm His presence or deny it? Does it declare fear or faith? And when you see the answer, do not condemn yourself. Simply change it. Replace the prayer of fear with the prayer of truth. Replace the prayer of lack with the prayer of supply. Replace the prayer of anger with the prayer of love. In this way, you will begin to live not as one who prays occasionally, but as one who prays continually. And that is the great secret. For prayer is not what you say in a moment of need. Prayer is the current of thought that runs through your whole life. Guard it well, for it is the channel of your destiny. And yet, the greatest secret of prayer is still deeper than this. It is not merely the discipline of choosing thoughts, nor the practice of affirming truth, but the realization that when you talk to God, you are not speaking into emptiness, you are speaking into the very foundation of your own being. God is not outside. God is the life that animates you, the breath in your lungs, the intelligence in your mind, the love in your heart. When you pray rightly, you awaken that hidden center. You remember that you are not a beggar standing at the gate. You are the son in the house, heir to all that God has. This realization is the turning point. The prodigal no longer cries for scraps. He rises and takes his place at the table. And you, too, must rise from the illusion of separation into the truth of oneness. Think for a moment how radical this is. If God is your life, how can you fear sickness? If God is your supply, how can you fear lack? If God is your wisdom, how can you fear confusion? The very things you dread are revealed as shadows without substance the moment you affirm the truth. And this is why Jesus spoke with authority. He did not wrestle with demons of fear. He declared the kingdom of God, and the false dissolved. You must do the same. When fear whispers, do not argue. Declare, God is here, and where God is, fear is not. When lack threatens, do not beg. Declare, God is supply, and His supply flows through me now. These words are not wishful thinking. They are truth spoken into form, and when truth is affirmed with conviction, the law responds with power. But here is where most people falter. They think that repeating words alone is prayer. They string together affirmations like beads, hoping the sheer number will compel results. This is a mistake. It is not the length of the words, but the depth of the belief that matters. A single sentence, spoken with living faith, carries more force than 1,000 phrases mumbled in doubt. Emmet Fox said that one clear realization of truth can do more than years of struggle. That is why you must not repeat like a parrot. You must speak as though the words are fire in your soul. You must feel the law working as you affirm. For the power is not in the sound of the words, it is in the consciousness that backs them. Let us illustrate with a story. A woman came to Emmet Fox, burdened with illness. She had prayed endlessly, begged fervently, wept before God, yet nothing changed. Fox told her plainly, "Stop praying about your sickness. Pray instead by realizing God is life. Speak not of your weakness, but of divine life flowing in every cell." And when she did this, not once, not twice, but steadily, faithfully, the change came. The illness dissolved, not because God suddenly decided to favor her, but because she had stopped blocking life with thoughts of death. This is the science of prayer. Think the truth, affirm the truth, and the law must act. It cannot fail. The universe itself is built upon this certainty. And so you must guard your inner dialogue with vigilance. Every time you affirm lack, you plant seeds of lack. Every time you affirm fear, you water fear. Every time you affirm doubt, you build walls around your blessing. But every time you affirm truth, you clear the channel for God to act. That is why I urge you now, do not waste your thought. Do not spend your mental energy rehearsing defeats or magnifying problems. Every thought is a seed, and the soil of the universe never rejects. It simply grows what you plant. So plant carefully, plant deliberately, plant only that which you wish to harvest. And when the harvest comes, you will know it was not luck, it was law. You may say, "But I am weak, I cannot control all my thoughts." To this I answer, you do not need to control all thoughts. You need only to cultivate the strong ones, the central ones, the ones you return to again and again. It is the deep current, not the surface ripples, that steers the river. If your dominant conviction is that God is present, then stray thoughts of fear cannot stand. They dissolve like mist in sunlight. Your task is not perfection of mind, but direction of mind. Keep steering it back to God again and again, until the habit forms, and once formed, it carries you as naturally as breathing. This is not strain, it is release. Not effort, it is surrender. For prayer is not forcing, it is allowing. Now understand this clearly. To talk to God is to talk to truth, and truth does not change. You may scream at the law of gravity, but it will not shift. You may plead with mathematics, but 2 + 2 will not become 5. In the same way, you do not bend God's law, you bend yourself to it. And once aligned, it works with mathematical precision. That is why results sometimes appear sudden and miraculous. They were not sudden to the law. They were the natural outcome of alignment. The instant you aligned, the answer was free to appear. And this is the secret. Miracles are not exceptions. They are demonstrations of the rule. What the world calls supernatural is simply the natural order seen without obstruction. Let me then give you another law to engrave upon your heart. Write it, speak it, carry it with you as a sword against fear. I am one with divine life, and divine life is flowing through me now. Say it when you wake. Say it when fear whispers. Say it when you feel weak. Do not rush through it. Pause, breathe, feel it. Let it sink from mind into heart, from words into conviction. And as it does, you will find that something shifts, not outside first, but inside. Peace comes, strength returns, and then, as surely as day follows night, the outer world reflects the inner truth. This is prayer. This is talking to God. And once you learn it, you will never be the same. And as you grow in this practice, you begin to realize that every challenge is not a curse, but a summons. Problems come not to destroy you, but to force you to remember who you are and where your power lies. The sickness that frightens you, the lack that haunts you, the conflict that disturbs you, these are all invitations to turn from the shadow to the light. They are reminders that without alignment you drift, and with alignment you rise. This is why Emmet Fox insisted that every difficulty is a disguised blessing, because it pushes you into the presence of God. The question is never, why is this happening to me? The real question is, will I turn my thought to God in the midst of this? For the instant you do, the burden begins to dissolve. Think of the story of Peter stepping out upon the sea. As long as his gaze was on Christ, the impossible became natural. The water held him. The storm could not touch him. Fear had no power. But the moment he looked at the waves, he sank. This is not just a tale from antiquity. It is the drama of your own soul. When you look at the problem, you sink. When you look at God, you rise. And the choice is yours in every moment. You cannot banish storms from life, but you can choose where your gaze rests. If it is upon fear, you drown in it. If it is upon God, you walk upon it. This is the science of prayer. This is the secret of talking to God rightly. The danger is subtle, and yet it is the most common of all mistakes. People pray while still staring at the storm. They speak words of faith while their mind is glued to fear. They call upon God, but in truth, they worship the waves, and then they wonder why no answer comes. Do not deceive yourself. You cannot pray about God and think about trouble at the same time. You must choose. The law is uncompromising. What you dwell upon grows. If you dwell upon the storm grows. If you dwell upon the Christ within, peace expands. The choice may feel small, but it determines destiny. Guard it with all your strength. You may say, but the storm is real. The problem is before my eyes. True, appearances are before your eyes, but they are not the final reality. The world of appearances is shifting, fleeting, unreliable. Behind it stands the eternal truth, and prayer is the act of piercing through the surface into the reality beneath. Jesus never denied appearances. He simply refused to be ruled by them. He looked beyond sickness and saw health. He looked beyond lack and saw abundance. He looked beyond death and saw life. And in seeing it, he made it manifest. You are called to the same vision. To pray is to see beyond the surface, to declare the truth until the truth shines through the appearance. This is not denial. It is revelation. Let me illustrate with a practical example. Suppose you face financial lack. The world says you have nothing. The figures on the paper scream scarcity, and your heart trembles with fear. The natural tendency is to cry out, "God, give me supply." But this is the mistake. Supply is already given. God is supply itself. To ask Him to give what He already is to confess separation. Instead, you must declare, "God is my supply, and His abundance flows through me now." Repeat it, affirm it, let it fill your consciousness until it is more real than the figures on the page. And then watch as doors open, as ideas come, as opportunities align, not by chance, but by law. For the truth affirmed dissolves the lie believed. This is why Fox urged people never to rehearse their troubles. Do not tell everyone about your lack, your pain, your defeat. Every word spoken is a prayer, and every prayer plants a seed. Why sow weeds with your own lips? Keep silence about the problem and speak only the truth, not as empty chatter, but as living affirmation. For the tongue can be a weapon against you or a sword for you. Guard it well. When you speak, let your words be firebrands of faith, declarations of truth, affirmations of God's presence. And if you cannot yet speak in faith, then be silent until you can. Better silence than seeds of fear. And here is the deeper mystery. The moment you align with God, even slightly, help begins to rush toward you. It may not appear as lightning, but it comes as a shift within, a peace that was not there before, a strength that rises quietly, a sense of guidance where confusion was. Do not dismiss these beginnings. They are the first signs of the miracle unfolding. Hold to them, nurture them, and let them grow. The outer demonstration will follow, but the inner shift is the true victory. For once your mind is anchored in God, no storm can master you. Appearances may rage, but they cannot command your soul. And when your soul is anchored, the storm itself will bow. Let me leave you with a law to inscribe upon your mind. Take it now, speak it with conviction. Let it echo in your heart until it becomes your shield. I am unmoved by appearances, for God is my reality, and God is here now. Write it on paper, keep it before your eyes. Speak it when the waves rise. Declare it when fear presses. Not with strain, but with calm certainty. Every time you affirm it, you withdraw your worship from fear and give it to God. And as surely as the sun dispels the night, the truth affirmed dissolves the shadow. This is how to talk to God. This is how to pray with power. Not by begging, not by fearing, but by declaring, by knowing, by aligning with the presence that never leaves you. And once you begin to live in this way, something shifts at the very foundation of your being. You no longer treat prayer as a desperate act you perform only in times of trouble. You begin to see it as the constant rhythm of your existence. Talking to God becomes as natural as breathing, and you discover that His presence is not a force you must summon, but the ground upon which you already stand. The mistake of most men is that they wait until crisis strikes, then they scramble to pray, only to find their minds too clouded with fear to rise. But if you train yourself to pray always, to align thought with truth in the ordinary hours, then when crisis comes, you are not shaken. You meet it anchored, and the storm breaks against the rock of your faith instead of sweeping you away. Prayer then ceases to be an emergency measure and becomes the architecture of your daily life. You begin to weave it into every act, every decision, every conversation. When you wake, you affirm, God is my life, and I live in His strength. When you work, you declare, God is my wisdom, and his intelligence guides my hand. When you walk through the world, you remind yourself God is present in me, around me, and through me. These are not mere words, they are alignments. Each affirmation is like setting the compass of your soul, turning it again toward the true north. And when the compass is steady, the ship does not drift. You move with certainty, with power, with peace. This is the deeper secret of talking to God. It is not occasional, it is continual. But let us expose the subtle trap that ruins so many seekers. They believe that if they perform enough rituals, repeat enough formulas, or use the right posture, they will finally gain God's attention. This is superstition dressed in holy clothing. God does not care for rituals or formulas. He is not swayed by the number of words or the volume of your cries. He responds only to consciousness. A single clear thought of truth, held with faith, has more power than endless ceremonies. Jesus himself warned against vain repetitions. The law is simple. You align, you affirm, you believe, and the result follows. Do not clutter it with superstition. Do not bury it beneath performance. Strip prayer back to its essence, thought united with God, and you will see results swift and sure. Here is another danger to guard against: the divided mind. A man may affirm truth in the morning and then spend the rest of the day contradicting it with worry, gossip, and fear. He may declare abundance with his lips, while his heart trembles at every bill. Such a man is like a farmer who plants seed at dawn and digs it up at noon to see if it has grown. His harvest is confusion. The law does not work with a divided mind. You must learn to be single-eyed, to fix your thoughts steadily on truth, and refuse to uproot it with contradiction. This does not mean that fear will never whisper or doubts never knock. It means that when they come, you do not invite them in. You return your mind again and again to God. This fidelity is what makes prayer bear fruit. Consider the power of a steady stream. A mighty canyon is carved not by a single wave, but by the persistent flow of water. So it is with thought. One affirmation may feel small, but if repeated with steady conviction, it wears away the rock of fear until the channel of blessing opens wide. Do not despise small beginnings. Do not mock the simplicity of daily affirmations. The world is changed not by rare fireworks of faith, but by steady light. And you can be that steady light if you will hold to your practice. Begin where you are. Affirm one truth daily. Hold it, and watch how life begins to conform to the pattern of your thought. This is not magic. It is law, and the law is faithful. Let me then give you a truth to practice, a law to engrave upon your mind, simple yet mighty. Say it now, write it down, carry it with you. I am steady in God, undivided in faith, and certain in his presence. Let it become your shield against doubt. Let it shape your thought as you go through the hours. When fear whispers, answer with this law. When worry claws, answer with this law. When temptation to complain rises, answer with this law. Over time, this steady affirmation will carve new pathways in your mind. It will reprogram your very consciousness until faith is no longer something you struggle to hold, but something that holds you. And as this new habit forms, you will find that your life itself becomes a prayer, not only in words, not only in quiet moments, but in the very way you live. Your calm presence will be a silent sermon to those around you. Your peace will be contagious. Your confidence will open doors. People will notice, though they may not understand, that you carry something different, and what you carry is the presence of God made visible through your thought. You become a vessel of peace, a channel of supply, a beacon of love. This is not arrogance, it is humility of the highest order, for you are no longer trying to make life work by your own power. You are letting God live through you, and that is the ultimate conversation with Him. And as you advance into this understanding, you will come to see that prayer is not only for your private comfort, but for your power in the world. When you know how to talk to God, you hold in your hands the key that can shift not just your own life, but the atmosphere around you. You enter a room, and the tension eases. You speak, and confusion gives way to clarity. You act, and others sense a force beyond personality guiding you. This is not charisma, it is consciousness. The world is starving for such presence because most people live from fear, and fear breeds chaos. But a man or woman aligned with God radiates order. radiates calm, radiates power. This is the fruit of true prayer, and you must know it is your responsibility to carry it, for no one else can speak God's presence into the exact place where you stand. This is why Emmet Fox urged his students to keep their thought high, even when walking through a world steeped in negativity. For every casual complaint, every cynical remark, every fearful prediction in the air is itself a prayer, a destructive one. And you, if unguarded, can be swept into that current and find yourself echoing the same powerless chorus. But when you remember that prayer is thought, and thought is power, you will refuse to lend your energy to the world's despair. Instead, you will stand as a quiet contradiction to it. You will affirm God's life where others affirm death. You will affirm supply where others affirm lack. You will affirm peace where others affirm conflict. And by doing so, you will literally shift the vibration of the space you occupy. This is not theory, it is law. Consider how often a single strong presence can change the mood of an entire gathering. One person enters with anger, and the atmosphere chills. One enters with joy, and the room warms. This is prayer in action, whether conscious or unconscious. Now imagine what happens when a soul trained in true prayer steps into the world. Every thought they think is a seed of truth. Every word they speak is a declaration of life. Every silent affirmation is a current of power. Such a person becomes a lighthouse, invisible perhaps to the eye, but unmistakable to the soul. And this can be you. If you train your thought, if you talk to God not as a stranger, but as your constant companion, the world does not need more noise. It needs the silent force of aligned minds. But beware another danger: pride in demonstration. When results appear, when prayers bear fruit, when life begins to move in your favor, the temptation is to boast, to claim credit, to announce yourself as the master of unseen powers. This is folly. The moment you claim the power as your own, you cut yourself off from the source. Remember always, you are not the sun, you are the window through which the sun shines. You are not the stream, you are the channel through which the stream flows. The power is not yours, it is God's. Your task is only to remain aligned, to remain open, to remain faithful. If you boast, you shut the channel. If you humble yourself, the channel widens, and the flow increases. Pride strangles, humility multiplies. Guard this law, for it is subtle but severe. Let us turn again to a story. A man healed of long disease declared to the crowd that Emmet Fox had saved him. But Fox corrected him. No man heals another. God alone heals. I only showed you how to stop blocking the flow. This is the eternal truth. Do not worship the messenger, not even yourself when the message works. Worship only the source, and yet recognize the responsibility that falls upon you. For if God works through you, you must keep the channel clean. You must keep your thought pure, your words aligned, your faith steady. The law will not fail, but you can fail to apply it. And the world around you waits, whether you know it or not, for the light you have the duty to carry. Here then is another law to engrave, a safeguard against pride and a reminder of your true position. I am not the power, I am the channel. God alone is the power, and His presence flows through me. Speak it when results appear. Speak it when you are tempted to boast. Speak it when others look to you as though you were the source. Let it anchor you in humility, for humility keeps the gate open, and every time you affirm it, you deepen your alignment, ensuring that the flow continues, uninterrupted, abundant, divine. Now, as you take this truth into the world, notice how differently you carry yourself. You no longer feel the need to argue, to defend, to prove. You walk in quiet certainty, because you know that the unseen is more real than the seen. You know that prayer is not fragile hope, but iron law, and this knowledge gives you a calm authority that others will feel, even if they do not understand it. They may resist, they may mock, but they cannot shake it, for truth does not waver with opinion. It stands, and when you stand with it, you too become unshakable. This is what it means to talk to God until His voice becomes your own. This is the destiny of every soul willing to rise. So let this be your final affirmation tonight, and let it ring through the chambers of your mind until it becomes your living reality. I am one with God, and God is one with me. Speak it softly, write it boldly, carry it daily. It is the only guide you will ever need, the compass that will never fail, the truth that will never change. For when you truly know how to talk to God, you never walk alone, you never fear the storm, and you never doubt the outcome. You live in peace, you act in power, and you move in the rhythm of eternal supply. If you've stayed with me until now, it is because something in you already knows that this was never just about words. It was about awakening a truth you've carried all along. Prayer is not a ritual to be performed, nor a formula to be memorized. It is the steady remembering that God is here, God is life, God is love, and God is supply. The mistake most of the world makes is to beg, to plead, to treat God as distant. But you now know the secret. To talk to God is to align with what is already true, to affirm His presence until fear dissolves, and to stand so firmly in faith that appearances cannot move you. Take this with you. Every thought is a prayer, and every prayer is answered. Guard your thoughts as you would guard your life, for they are the builders of your destiny. Do not waste them on fear or complaint. Use them to affirm truth, to declare life, to magnify love. And when you falter, return quickly, without shame, without delay. For every moment you choose God again,